Joining us now, Tina Freitas. Tina is the wife of House of Delegates member Nick Freitas. Could be the new power couple in politics in Virginia. Nick Freitas, we think, is going to run for U.S. Congress against Abigail Spanberger, but that's for another day. Right now, Tina Freitas is running for state Senate in a Republican primary. She is challenging Emmett Hanger, who's the incumbent there, Republican. Many people say is a rhino, and she is challenging him for the Senate nomination. That will be settled in the 24th District on a June 11th primary, and that is Augusta, Greene, Madison, Stanton, and Waynesboro, part of Culpeper and Rockingham. We cover a lot of that, not all of it, with our radio network. And Tina is joining us now. Tina, great to have you with us.
Great to be on. Thank you, John.
So, Tina, if you get elected to state Senate and your husband gets elected to Congress, I mean, come on, Tina, that is going to be the Virginia political power couple of all time, right?
Well, it certainly was not actually in the plan to become some kind of a power couple. Really what it is we just both really care about the issues. We're both conservative Republicans who believe in our Constitution and believe what our country was founded on. And, when you see something happening and you see your Commonwealth heading a direction that it should not be heading and nobody else steps up, then it's on you to step up if you care about it.
All right, so you're going to step up. Now, in a full and absolute disclaimer here, I have personally, and our network has unequivocally and enthusiastically endorsed Tina Freitas for state Senate in her race over Emmett Hanger. So I want to make that clear, Tina. So I like complete transparency when I do my show. And so we will be backing your candidacy. I'll be heading up a fundraiser pretty soon for your team, and I'm excited to have you on today. So a lot of people, when you started this race, yawned and said, yeah, that's interesting. Hanger's got $1 million. She's not going to beat her. She can't compete with him financially, and he's already been down this route, and every time he's been challenged, he's vanquished all of his competition as he did in 2015. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's all about strategy, and you've got to have a decent candidate to go up against him, and you can't split the vote three ways. Anytime you're trying to take out a giant, you've got a David and Goliath situation. You can't have, everything split in between because there's not a lot of votes to go around in this type of an election. In fact, the last time in 2015, the numbers were just absurdly low. I mean, you got 12,000 active voters in an area, and they get 600 people out to vote. I mean, at this point, our whole strategy is boots on the ground, reaching the voters, making sure they know what the record is, making sure they know what's being done in their name down in Richmond. And we are seeing people flip at the door. We're seeing people flip at events. We're having meet and greets all across the district and bringing in people that don't usually get engaged in the political sphere. And you find the few issues that they really care about, and all of a sudden they're charged up and they're telling all of their friends. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to do this somewhat organically, boots on the ground, trying to run a lean campaign. We're not dumping a bunch of money into consultants and things like that where they're just, milking you dry. But we're also doing a pretty swell job at our fundraising. And so I think we're well on our way. We're doing very well. We've got endorsements coming in. We'll start releasing those very soon. I just look at this and go, sometimes a job worth doing is going to be hard, and that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. So that's what we're doing.
Okay, so you talked about fundraising. The fundraising for the first quarter has closed. March 31st was the deadline. What does your fundraising look like? I mean, what is your cash on hand vis-a-vis Emmett Hanger's?
Well, I'm not sure what Emmett Hanger has. The numbers aren't going to actually pop up until the 15th of April. I know he had about $250,000 on hand when we started. Yes. I'm sure he has more than that now. We, in a matter of about 5 weeks since my announcement, we were able to raise between $65,000 and $70,000, and so we don't have our solid number just yet because we're still having our team figure out all the ins and outs there. But But we did pretty well. I mean, for a team just getting going, and it's a lot of work, but we're willing to do that work. So.
All right, Tina, let's get to some of the issues. I'm going to start with, we're with Tina Freitas, Tina, the wife of House of Delegates member Nick Freitas. Her husband ran for U.S. Senate, got beat in the primary by Corey Stewart. We think he's going to run for Congress, separate issue. Tina, you're running against Emmett Hanger in the 24th District Republican primary. That'll be settled June 11th. Tina, so let's get to some of the issues. Let's start with specific votes that Hanger had this session, 2019, that you take issue with. Had you been state senator, give me a couple of key votes that Hanger made that you would have voted differently on.
Okay, just this past session, because you have to definitely take this with the idea that, look, some of these really important votes happened after he had a challenger. So
okay, take the list.
Things up a bit.
Since he's been there in 2015, let's say 16, 17, 18, 19. How about that?
Sure. No, I mean, and there are some this year too. He carried his own anti-gun bill that was killed in the House, that was opposed by the NRA. On top of that, he voted for the ERA, which we all know is nothing but a Trojan horse for NARAL and Planned Parenthood to push the full, to get rid of the restrictions on abortion and all the way up till birth, as well as force taxpayer funding of abortion. And we know that because there's already legal precedent in other states where it has passed. So as soon as it passed, we know that that's what's coming down the pike. It's a Trojan horse. We're already equal. The Constitution already recognizes the equality of all women and genders and everybody else. We're all equal. So why do we need this other thing? And he says he's doing this as a symbolic vote, but I don't need your symbolic vote. What I need is for you to stop bad legislation from going through and to promote good legislation. And when you're not doing that and your symbolic votes, it's kind of ridiculous. And the fact that you can't see that it's a Trojan horse is equally ridiculous.
Tina, come on. I mean, in defense of Hanger for this one, and look, I've endorsed you.
I mean, it's every year.
but I mean, the whole ERA thing is one of the most asinine conversations I've had in my career, because the whole thing is symbolic. It's going to be tied up in litigation for the next decade. Your kids are going to be out of college and have jobs, and they're still going to be fighting over that in litigation. So the whole thing was meaningless for the beginning. And so, I mean, let's get off that. Let's get to
hold on, because what doesn't get tied up in litigation is the fact that in most of the states where this has happened, the most recent being Alaska, they have jumped on it. There is legal precedent to lift all of these regulations and force taxpayer funding of it. We know there's already legal precedent, so it's coming here and it's coming fast. So, yeah, there might be some battle in the courts over the ERA itself, but what it will cause is already set in stone.
All right, well...
And so for a sitting senator to not recognize that just tells me that you're obsolete.
I just don't see that that's going to be the issues that's going to put you over the top. I don't think that people are getting up today and saying, oh, my God, the ERA might pass in 2033, and I'm going to get motivated to vote for somebody else.
Except that there was only one vote. It only failed by one vote this last time.
Well, I would have voted for it. I would have voted for it because, and I think that one vote has hurt Republicans from keeping the House or getting a bigger majority. So, look, I don't care about that. So I understand it's a lightning rod issue for you. I get it. You said that he was in favor of third-term late abortions. What evidence do you have of that?
I never said that Emmett Hanger was in favor of third-term late abortions. Okay,
well, you said that was the second issue, the third issue that you said. You said he had gun legislation didn't like. He voted for the ERA. And what was the third?
Yeah, the ERA is the one that allows late-term abortion, yes, all the way up till birth. That doesn't necessarily mean that he believes that in his heart.
Okay, got it.
He believes that he's 100% pro-life, but his voting record is not. And so when your actions are different from what you really believe, then we've got to take a good hard look at what it is that's causing you to turn your back on what you believe in your vote. So we'll just go into this. He's killed constitutional carry several years in a row, which is literally just nothing but recognizing that we have the right to bear arms and that it shall not be infringed. It's really, really basic. And he cites, mental health issues and things of that nature, but it's already completely legal to carry out in the open. I mean, it's all about how you carry a gun, not how you buy your gun. So if he's got issues with mental health or what, I mean, it's already completely legal for somebody just to walk around with their gun out. And so why is being discreet all of a sudden a big problem? I mean, especially as a woman, I believe that carrying a firearm is actually a great equalizer. I can defend myself against a stronger attacker. But I don't necessarily want to carry it on the outside of my person. What I want to do is put it, under my coat or in my purse. I don't want to scare the lady at Starbucks who thinks that my gun's just going to jump right out of the holster and start shooting everybody. I don't want to scare that lady. She doesn't know how guns work or whatever. So no, I just want to keep it to myself. I only want it in case I need it, and which is going to be in very rare cases. But the fact that the minute I put it into my purse, I'm now a criminal unless I go through a bunch of government hoops and pay a bunch of government fees in order to exercise my Second Amendment rights. That's ridiculous.
Right, on the concealed carry rule. I have to agree with that 100%. Tina, let's get to some of the issues that are going to face you. I know we went over some of these before, but let's get to some of the issues that are going to face you in 2020, if indeed you do beat Hanger and become the nominee and do get elected to the state Senate. One of the biggest issues is going to be Interstate 81. Now, Tina, here's reality. I know all the Tea Partiers were all upset when McDonnell passed the great tax and road increase of 2013, of which I was an enthusiastic supporter of, because, see, I live in Southeast Virginia and we had no roads, all right? They were a disaster. Now, that was 2013. Let me tell you, Tina, 6 years later, it is like a road renaissance in Southeast Virginia. We have new bridges. We have new tunnels. We have expanded 64 Interstate. We have Easy Pass. It is continued to cut. When it's all done, it'll cut 1 hour off my commute from Virginia Beach to Washington, D.C. every week. So this is real progress. That without that tax, it just wouldn't have happened. I don't care what Pete Snyder and the Tea Party are saying. It wouldn't have happened. So you go to 81, you got the similar issue, right? Traffic backed up. They have an accident, backed up for hours and hours and hours. You can't get through the artery. How do you solve that, Tina?
Well, I can tell you one thing. We have been told time and time again, especially, back when they're trying to push these transportation taxes and these big things, I'm so glad that Hampton Roads in Northern Virginia got a bunch of brand new roads. But here we are still having safety hazards on I-81. That's the problem, is that, everybody else is happy. Northern Virginia, Hampton Roads is super happy. But, when these tax increases were sold to our people, we were told, oh, well, guess what? We're going to be able to fix this. We're going to be able to add this and that. And, hey, won't it be great to have, everything just easy breezy going up I-81? Well, guess what? It's still a complete mess. And here you've got somebody that entered the legislature 36 years ago and still haven't found a way to fix it. And so, I want to say this. If we're going to come up with ways to fix I-81, I don't want to come up with 1 red cent of tax dollars going up unless it is specifically earmarked for I-81. And that's never going to happen because Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads tend to be a black hole, and they suck all of the transportation dollars away. As you mentioned, you guys are cruising down there on these luxury roads, right? Well, we've got people for 36 years who have been getting in car accidents, pile-ups, everything else. And so one of the ways that I want to look at this is go, first, let's get rid of some of this ridiculous government waste, right? Before we start trying to,
Tina, come on. There's no money under the seat. You'll never do that. You have a balanced budget here. There's no money under the seat cushions that you're going to find. This sounds like the same argument I went through in 2013. Here's the thing, and I agree with you, right? But when I first got here in Southeast Virginia, here's what I was told. Hampton Roads has no ability to get any money because Dick Saslaw and Barbara Favola and everybody else sucks it up to Northern Virginia. So all the transportation money go there because that caucus is unified and they get it done, all right? Then we got the thing passed. We got Wagner in there representing Southeast Virginia, and he got us all the money, right? I mean, that's how this thing works. So if you're going to be in the Senate, you're never going to fix 81 by cutting money from something else. I mean, that is never going to happen. So you either got to have a tax increase or a toll.
Transportation dollars out there that are getting allocated to Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads, while we have absolute safety hazards on I-81. So what you have is one area that's sucking down all of the money for congestion issues, while the other side has folks dying on the road. So one of the things I would like to do is start seeing VDOT and everything else, the transportation department, totally revamping and looking at this from an angle of safety rather than simply congestion. I understand congestion is a big problem, and it's frustrating and everything else.
So why not go with it? Why not go with Senator John Edwards?
Public safety is very important. We've got to start prioritizing safety over luxury.
Well, I don't want you to take our money in Southeast Virginia. I'm not in favor of that. I want our roads to continue. I mean, we got so much construction going on here. I mean, it's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. I love it, right? We're getting all the money. Yay, Frank Wagner. But here's the thing. Edwards has got a bill. You would be his colleague if he wins. John Edwards down there in Roanoke has a bill for a gas tax that I think allocates the first whatever hundreds of $1 million, $500 million or something. That all of that has to go to 81, okay? You're not going to fix that road without some revenue stream. Why not do that? What's the matter with that bill?
Well, the problem with that bill is that it's not 100% earmarked to I-81. And, they go ahead and they sell this to us like this over and over and over again. I can't tell you how many gas taxes have been levied and how many other taxes have been levied. And you know what? Fool me once, shame on you. But fool me twice, shame on me. And we're just not buying it anymore. We're never getting what we want out of these little tax increase here, tax increase there. And we'll give you a little bit of our scraps. No. We want a real solution that's really going to earmark every red cent to I-81. And not only that, we need to hold the federal government's feet to the fire and tell them it's time for them to take up some responsibility on this as well. It is a federal roadway.
Tina, if you get elected to the state Senate, you've got to be to 81 what Frank Wagner was to 64. I mean, Wagner was a dog with a bone.
And that's what
whether
he did,
you like
right?
him or don't, Wagner, who is a good friend of mine, so again, disclaimer, he's my buddy, so I get all that. But he was like a dog with a bone.
I like Frank, yeah.
I mean, Frank was like, as soon as we put him in charge of that, everybody was like, okay, you wait, he's going to fix all these roads. Because the guy is relentless. You need to be that kind of advocate. I love your attitude. You're the type of person who can do that. So if you get elected to the Senate, everybody wants to fix 81. Even though I don't live there, I want to fix it too. And you guys do get the shaft. You do get the crumbs.
We do, over and over again. And we know it. We recognize it. And every single time. I mean, we've got the governor trying to introduce some kind of bill right now, and he's saying, well, a little bit of this will go toward 81, and then this other thing will go toward 81. And I'm sorry, but you can promise the world, but until it's in a LIS and it's in black and white and it's written in stone that it goes to I-81, I'm not buying it anymore. They're all talking heads lying about it.
I got an idea. Why don't you vote for the casinos and then take a portion of that casino money and then target that to I-81. That way everybody's happy. I'm happy because they get my casinos. You're happy because you get 81 fixed, right? But I think if you get elected, you could be the advocate for that. Now, you're not going to get in there and vote no on the casinos, are you?
No. The only way you'd get a no vote out of me is if there was some kind of special carve out or extra fees or special favors that other people don't get. Then I'm for equality across the board.
I got to go.
And the free market,
Tina Freitas,
as well
in
as
favor of casinos. So. Tina, I got to go, but I want you to get elected and then be like the Frank Wagner of I-81. You are dogged enough to get it fixed. I have no doubt in my mind. Plus, today
well, we know that it hasn't been fixed in the past 36 years. That's for sure. So doing the same old thing is definitely not going to get it done.
Doesn't sound like Emmett Hangers fixed it. I got to roll. John Fredericks Radio Network. Stay with us.